Galvez, and I'm the director of the Thought into Action Entrepreneurship here at Colby. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but it's where students come if they have an idea, and they spend a full year working with alumni and parent mentors, turning that idea into a reality. So if anybody's ever interested in that, I'm over in Benton Hall. But today we're here to listen to Wiley Cerilli. Wiley started a few different companies. One sold to Constant Contact, and then Seamless sold that to Grubhub. And the one that most of you guys are probably most familiar with, seeing the trucks around campus, is Good Uncle. So I'll turn this over to Wiley.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm going to try to make this pretty open. If you have any questions along the way, just raise your hand and I'd be happy to answer it. Thought what I'd do is, so I guess, I've been incredibly lucky and fortunate to be part of some amazing teams. And as a result, some pretty incredible outcomes. I think when you read about people that are starting companies, it's like, oh, this person had this amazing idea, and then all of a sudden it clicked and it took off, and everything was amazing, and they're a genius, and sort of like the, I don't know, like their life is an Instagram kind of thing. And I think the reality is that's not the case. So what I thought I'd do is I'd walk through a number of the different startups I had, lessons I've learned, mistakes that we've made from my earliest companies to Good Uncle. We made tons of mistakes. Happy to answer any questions. Can talk about fundraising, give you tips for fundraising, or starting a business, or getting jobs in startups. But I'm a total open book. So I guess I'll rewind and start. It's interesting. I was telling Caroline earlier today that I actually never wanted to start a company. I didn't want to be a CEO of a tech company. I think it's kind of a cool thing to say now. But growing up, I wanted to be a teacher. Pretty much my entire life. I taught poetry classes to middle schoolers in high school. I loved it. My dad owned a restaurant, and all of his restaurants went out of business. So we went from, I think my first role as a CEO was when I was about 16. So my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer and went from like a healthy 180 pounds to about 90 or so. A few months later, he died. And within that period of time, we went from having a decent amount to all those restaurants sort of went out of business, so it's odd that I'm in the restaurant business now. I lost my dad, and we lost, our electricity being shut off, and all of a sudden, the night before he died, he pulled me into his room and said, life is going to get really difficult soon, and you're going to go through this grieving process, but ultimately you're going to have to make a decision, and that decision is to either feel sorry for yourself, or imagine where you need to get to and make it happen. And at the time I was in a back brace because I had been hit by a car and I cracked L1 and L2 in my back. So not a great year for me at 16 years old. But he told a story about one of the things he did in Providence, Rhode Island was he was a real estate developer. And there's not many tall buildings in Providence. And one of them was a building that he refurbished. And it was this big brick building and with no windows. So you drive by Providence and it was like this eyesore that sort of stuck out. And so what he did was he hired this artist from RISD to go and paint these big, beautiful bay windows inside of the building. And they're so realistic that when you're driving by, it looked like they were real windows. And you'd often have to see people like standing outside looking up. And it's still there now. And he said, that's sort of the decision that you have to make. You can either look at these challenges ahead of you and say, here's this massive brick wall, like how am I going to make it through this? Or figure out a way to paint your windows over this story. And I think from my time at my startups to the times that I was investing at first round capital, this fund, the entrepreneurs that I respected the most were the ones that went after the biggest problems. And everyone thought they were crazy, and they said, no, I'm going to paint my story over that. So I looked at it as each one of these challenges as an opportunity. And so got out of my back race, went to one of my many colleges, Syracuse, for my first year. So like all of you, I went to college. Unlike all of you, I didn't finish. I struggled in school. I'm super ADD if you can't tell already, but I have challenges. I'm really challenged when it comes to like reading comprehension. I've read single-digit books my entire life, so I was very insecure about that. And so I struggled in school, and then my mom and my sister needed support and needed financial support, so I dropped out. Now, being a college dropout in technology is kind of like a cool thing, and back then it was like, what the are you doing, dropping out of college? And I didn't really feel like I had a choice. Caroline asked me earlier today, like, what got you into this? And I didn't want to be in technology. I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. I saw my dad suffer, and I didn't want to be in that world. But it was a time where I could, at 19 years old, make like $80,000 a year and take a year off of school, pay off some debt with my families, and then go back to school. So I moved to New York. I had like $200 in my backpack, a blow-up mattress that popped, I think, the second night I was in New York. So I would each night blow up my mattress and try to go to sleep before it hit the ground. But basically meant that I slept on a wood floor for a good, 6 months or so. So typical sort of like startup struggles. I met two people that had a vision for an online food ordering system, and I decided to take the leap. So joined the founding team of Seamless, and not your typical story. So now Seamless was actually acquired by Airmark and then merged with Grubhub, and now it's a public company. But at the beginning, we instead of an online food ordering system for consumers, we would go to law firms and banks and get them to put all their food ordering through us, and then we partnered with restaurants. So the law firms and banks would put in a client matter number, we'd keep the client matter number, and then bill their clients for the meals. So it was a sort of a cost-effective way for us to acquire all these customers, and then roll out. And it ended up being fast-growing company in New York and fast-growing company in the country. We grew fast with Google for like 3-4 years. It was amazing. I was there for 10 years, ran sales and marketing and product. And I'd say the big mistake that we made there, we didn't make too many mistakes there in the other companies we did, but what ended up happening was it's really hard as a CEO to say no, especially whether things are going great or or you're struggling. It's hard to say no to new business. And we had all these law firms, all these banks, all these people saying, we'd love for you to not just do online food ordering, but also do online cars. So push a button and get your car to show up, sort of like Uber, and bill it to a client. They wanted seamless gifts, they wanted seamless flowers, they wanted seamless catering, seamless cakes. So we said, yes, 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 yes. So we basically said yes to everything. And then what ended up happening was we ended up going from being really great at one thing to just really good at one thing and okay to bad at other things. And what happened was it left the door open for Grubhub to come in and take off. And that's why we ended up merging with Grubhub. There was this Mike Tyson in the prime of his career was, right before one of his biggest fights, was asked, the reporter said, hey Mike, what are you going to do in this fight? This person's going to do A, B, and C against you. What's your plan? And Mike Tyson said, well, everyone has a plan when they step in the ring with me, and then I punch them in the face. Right? So his point was I don't care if you're the tallest, the fastest, the this, the that. I'm none of those things, but if I connect with this one punch, I'm going to knock you out. And so I think one of the pieces of advice that I give to startups is try to be great at one thing, and it's really hard not to because you have this vision for this beautiful company and what it could ultimately end up being, and then you say yes to a lot of things, and you end up not being great at anything. So our mistake was that, and we tried to be at too many things to too many people. I left Seamless and started a single platform, and that did not go like Seamless did. I started a single platform by going around with a PowerPoint and pitching the idea of the business to these restaurants. So the idea was put your menu into a single platform, and we will publish your menu on your website, mobile site, Facebook, Twitter, and then all these sites like Yelp and Google, and change your listing from just a telephone number and address to your business, basically. And we thought that this could work with not just restaurants, but spas and salons and florists. So I went out and I tried to sell it like it existed, and pretty much everyone said no for the first month and a half. But I would take the deck back and I would edit it and then go back out to the point where I could get one business to commit to buying it for a few $100s a day. And once they were ready to commit to buying it, I would let them know it's not live, it's launching in a few months, but I will put you right at the top of the list. And so at that point, I said, okay, I'm ready to fundraise. And so I fundraised for a single platform, and I pitched probably 40 different funds. 2 of them said yes. Luckily, one of them was first round capital. And I all of a sudden had a business. I offshored the technology, terrible decision, and we launched. I don't think, I was telling Mary earlier today, my family and my girlfriend at the time were really upset with me because they found out 9 months after I actually launched that it was live, and it was because I was like so embarrassed by the product. But what I was trying to do was trying to learn quickly as to like, you know, how will people react to the service and to the site. So went out and started signing up businesses, but the issue that we had was publishers wouldn't sign up. So Yellow Pages wouldn't take our menu content and put it on their site. And Foursquare wouldn't. And basically I approached hundreds of sites and all of them said no. And I remember Yellow Pages saying to me, word for word, I think it's really cute what you're working on. Why don't you come back when you have 100,000 businesses? And we were about like a month from running out of cash. And which is scary because now at this point we've convinced a bunch of people to leave their jobs. People have families and kids, and it's a lot of pressure being a CEO. And I feel like I was making big decisions that were going to affect a lot of people's lives. And I remember talking to my mom about it, and she said, you know, Wiley, when you're young, like you're 5 years old, you look at us and you think we have all the answers. And we gave you answers when you asked us, but truth is we're just like older kids and we're just trying to figure stuff out, and that's what being a CEO is like. And my mom had started a couple businesses, and so I tried to, so this person that said this to me, Yellow Pages, went up on stage and she did this whole presentation. She walked off stage and I walked up to her and I was like, I'll give you 100,000 businesses by August if you agree to work with us. And this is April. And she said, okay. So, because they said yes, and this is a year into business now, Foursquare said yes, New York Times said yes. So I left my job in January 2010, and in April 2011 was when our first publisher said yes. So it was a lot of no's to get to our first yes. I didn't have 100,000 businesses, so we stayed up all night and typing out restaurant menus and putting it into our system, sort of fake it till you make it kind of thing. And we launched in January of 2012, so now 2 years after I left my job, I finally launched the actual publishing platform. And Google reached out to us. There was a bunch of press written about us, and Google reached out to us and wanted to work with us. And I'd say that was the first time in 2 years that I thought that people's jobs were safe. And it wasn't that I didn't believe in the idea. I truly believed the idea made sense, right? Put your information in one place and it should go everywhere. Restaurant websites are, for the most part, pretty crappy, and they're not mobile optimized. And you go to these sites and you should be able to see a restaurant menu before you dine out. And so I knew the idea made sense. I just didn't know if we had enough time. Vince Lombardi was a great football coach. He said, we never lost a game, we just ran out of time. And what he meant was like, there's just 4 quarters in the game. So whoever's winning at the end of the game, that's who wins. And so for us, I just felt like if the game kept going, we'd be able to, we'd win. But we, unfortunately, usually have to take the time bomb of the amount of money that you have. So we, as a result of Google signing, every publisher signed, and it happened within a very quick period of time, a couple of months. Forbes magazine wrote an article about me, and I did this other fundraiser, and a guy who was the head of M&A for Constant Contact was on a train ride from Boston to New York, and whoever was sitting in a seat before him left their Forbes magazine there, and he picked it up. There's an article about me and the business in it, and he walked in my office that day and asked me to take me to lunch, and he offered to buy the company that day. And so I said, how long have you thought about doing it for? And he said, about a couple hours. So I didn't think the offer was serious. And so I said, we're not interested. And he said, because we had signed this term sheet to do like a $17 million round of funding. And as part of that, I was going to make $1 million, which was going to change my life and my family's life and everyone's forever. I just living paycheck to paycheck for 15 years. So I said no, and he said, well, what would make it worth your while? And I said, well, we sell for $100 million and in cash, and then we'd like to have a $17 million budget. I want an in contract that all of our employees get to keep their jobs, that we get to keep the name single platform, that we sell the business in a month and a half, and I'll add it that I'd like to be on the exec team of a public company. Kind of cool thing to say for a college dropout. And he said, sounds reasonable. And I was like, man, maybe I should ask for more. I said, because he said yes. So he said yes, and we ended up selling the company. 2 months later, we were like 12 people. We did, I was saying to Caroline earlier today, she's doing more revenue than we were doing at the time. We were doing like 30,000 a month in revenue. And, but the idea was companies are acquired at points when they show a wow moment that can be scaled. And so our wow moment was put information in, it goes to all these places. And over the course of the next 6 months, we were going to onboard 15 salespeople every single month. And so the idea was like, buy now or this is going to get really expensive. So they bought the company, and I was happy there for about a year, and then I left because I decided I helped start this nonprofit, which is a summer camp for kids who have lost their parents. I lost my dad when I was young. It's a free sleepaway summer camp called Experience Camp. And I decided that, I want to be a teacher. I did this thing I never thought I was going to do. I've now taken care of my family, and I'm going to run this nonprofit. So I did, and opened up a bunch of camps. Opened camps in LA, opened camps in Maine, opened camps in, now we have like 8 camps. And I did that for a little while, and I realized it was something I was really passionate about, but not something I was very good at, not something I enjoyed doing. And one of the pieces of advice I give to people, sounds odd, is to not actually follow your passions, to do things that give you energy, and the type of tasks that give you energy. And, if you're interested in music, I think it's fantastic. Don't go to the music industry. If you're passionate about making food and you're a chef, then great, then make food. But if you're not, and you're just like, I love to eat good food, I wouldn't go into the food industry. People often ask me why I've been involved in so many food businesses. And our head chef at Good Uncle is this like culinary genius. He's like Michelin star rated chef, and was Iron Chef a couple months ago, and ran John George's restaurants and Stephen Starr's restaurants. And he asked me, he's like, "So you must be a foodie." And I said, "Actually, you know what? I really don't like food. I actually find it annoying. Like if I could take a pill and not have to eat, I would." And he's like, "I hope you don't tell this to everyone." I said, "No. I don't need to be passionate about food. You need to be passionate about making good food, not me." And I like solving big problems, and it gets me like excited. And I think like when you look at the food industry, it's just riddled with problems. It's like this archaic model, and restaurants have the highest failure rate of any business, and everyone needs to eat every day. Except for, like, I haven't eaten yet today, but most people need to eat almost every single day. And so after camp, I went to First Round Capital, which is the fund, and they invested in like Uber started out of their office, and Grape Brand, and like all these big technology companies, and we partnered in Birchbox. And so we ran the company that just sold to Amazon for like a couple $1 billion. All started out of First Round. So I went there as an investor, and I was investing in social entrepreneurship startups. So startups that were trying to solve world problems. So an adoption platform. I did a vertical farming company. Invested in like drones and artificial intelligence. All this like really cool stuff that I wasn't smart enough to understand. You all probably are, but I wasn't enjoying my time there, and I had this idea for Good Uncle, and the idea of Good Uncle stemmed from looking at a market that's really big, food, like everyone needs it. Some of the best entrepreneurs that I know will go into an industry that has a lot of problems, a lot of brick walls, and doesn't necessarily have a lot of technology in it. When you think about food, there's a lot of companies, like the companies I've been involved with, like Seamless, that have created marketplaces for people to order food, but haven't really changed the back end of the way restaurants operate yet. And of course, there's innovations there, there's POS systems, but nothing. The restaurants tend to look and feel and operate relatively similar that they did 20 years ago. Obviously, with some improvements here and there, but not like an Airbnb versus a hotel. It's completely different. So I like that industry. Another reason was that this failure rate of all these restaurants. I looked at we invested in Warwick Park and Birchbox, and like one of the ways they questioned the market was like, why do you have to have real estate to sell glasses, right? Why there's this huge cost, and so for a lot of retail like restaurants, their go-to-market is location. Like find a good location with good foot traffic, and then if you make good food, you'll do well. And so a lot of these new businesses are challenging that model, and restaurants really haven't to a certain extent. And so we surveyed thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, in all these different markets, and the complaints in terms of like restaurant delivery were relatively similar. One, there was either high minimums to deliver food, so you need to reach this threshold of like $25. Two, there's a delivery fee, so you need to pay a delivery fee of 1 to 3, or in Uber's case, $5 per delivery fee. It's a huge amount of money to pay. Four, the delivery times. You have 50-minute delivery, hour-long delivery. It's a long time compared to there's just food in your fridge. So it's tough to beat that. When you actually place your food order, you actually don't know if it's going to be there in 45 minutes or an hour and a half. There's no way to track it. Uber Eats is sort of solving that part of that problem now. When you go outside, you're meeting a complete stranger, and it's usually dark outside, and that's going to be a little scary. The food has now been sitting in a delivery bag for 50 minutes. And you go eat at a restaurant, or here, anywhere, campus, or you go into town, you order food, and you get hot food there. So the delivery experience is cold, not cold food, but not great. So we felt like, and also one of the things that we saw in the surveys was in college campuses, you have students that are the places that are available to them, especially when you get to more remote places, are pizza. And different from when I went to school, it's just super old, like I said now. We just ordered pizza, and that was fine. Now, people want bowls, and they want all these different kinds of food. And so there was complaints that all they could get for delivery food was pizza. There was complaints that the delivery fee and all those other things, or if there was on-campus food, it was across the campus, or they missed their chef making their meal, and now they can't eat. And it's college students eat at different times of the day that, say, I do. I'm probably waking up when most of you go to sleep. There's this fourth meal of the day that's later on. And so we said, okay, we're going to start Good Uncle, and here's some of the things we're going to try to do. We're going to eliminate the need for real estate, so we don't have a storefront. You can't go walk into Good Uncle's restaurant. Our kitchen's in Syracuse and Delaware. It's a long walk. So no real estate costs. The second is we're not going to have a delivery fee or a delivery minimum. The challenge with that is restaurants, when they make deliveries, they make 1.5 deliveries per hour. So 1.5 deliveries per hour makes it about a $5 cost to deliver a meal. It's very expensive when you have super razor thin margins. So we said, well, let's test on a college campus to start, and then we'll go to big cities where we'll do drops instead. So you place your order, and college campuses and apartment buildings and stuff are set up so that you can't go into dorms, can't go into apartment complexes in many cases. So we create, in Colgate we have 9 drops around campus. So you'll place your order, walk to one of them. It's an X-minute walk. And that way, instead of us having to deliver everywhere, we deliver 9 places and hope that people don't mind walking, a block or two. So whether we're doing 10 meals in a day or 100, we still only make those 9 drops. We're not a food truck because you can't actually, we don't cook in the trucks. You can't, we don't have a license to be a food truck. We have a license to be a food vendor, but you can't walk up to our truck and place a food order and get food. It's one of the most highly requested things that people and students have of us is, can we make it so that when we do see your truck and we place an order, we say no, because we don't want to be a food truck. We want to be we're trying to figure out this blueprint for the way restaurants are going to operate in the future. And so, what we try to pick a superpower and start off in college markets and then go, everywhere else. And so, we don't want to be a restaurant. We don't want to be a food truck. We want to operate like a restaurant, but deliver, a lot faster. So, so the drops allowed us to make it so there's no minimum and no delivery fee. And then, so we launched the business. Originally, the idea was to partner with restaurant brands in New York, like Joe's Pizza, and get their secret recipes to their pizza and the sub place and this bagel place, and then license it. So we pay 1 to 2% licensing fee, and then bring these great restaurants all across everywhere. And that didn't work. College students didn't really care. They didn't want to pay $20-something for a pizza, which Joe's is. So we eliminated that. And we closed down, we started off building kitchens in each place, but not a restaurant in each place. We closed that down. And our most recent model, which launched in September, so, you know, just showing you sort of how many iterations we've gone through of this. Our most recent model is even more different. So we don't have brands. The delivery times are about like 25 to 40-ish minutes. You have to place your order ahead of time. We're built to serve, you know, I don't know, I think yesterday we did like 40 meals in Colgate, but in like Syracuse, so we're live in Syracuse, Maryland, Lehigh, and Colgate, 4 random schools. I'm happy to talk about why. But we have, I don't know, Syracuse is like a much bigger market. So I think the school itself is about 8 to 10 times larger. So it's, we have, you know, 1,000 meals a day in Syracuse. I don't know if it's just like close to 100 here. So yeah, we're trying to build the next model of Good Uncle, which I'm pitching now to fund to VCs, is to build the first mobile autonomous robotic kitchen. A lot of buzzwords there. I'm still trying to figure out what that means. But basically what it is we can operate anywhere we want right now because we don't have chefs in these trucks. When you place the food order, the food's already been pre-made, put in these packages, and then rethermed. So it's not, no one's touching the food. If you touch the food with your hands, then you become a food truck. What we're trying to build in the next version of when you launch in like New York, Chicago, and all these markets is a robotic kitchen. So you place your food order, and the food is made and prepped in the back by all these robots, and then put into the oven, and it's cooked on its way to you, and it comes out piping hot. It's not what it's doing now. But if we get this next round of funding, then fantastic. Some of the mistakes we've made, let's see, just here in Colgate. One, different than like Syracuse, it's a really small market. Everyone knows each other, and so we launched one without going to like the administration. So like Syracuse, we just launched and like they didn't care much. Whereas you launch here, it's like it's freaking news. You know, like there's like 3 different articles that were written about us, and like within a 2-day span, I was contacted by all these like student reporters. I was like, wow, this is actually a big deal. I didn't realize that there would be that much noise, which is great. You know, the Bible community. 2, we had issues with, oh man, our trucks are breaking down non-stop. Which is like the number of times our trucks broke down, our heaters broke down. It was a mess. We had this thing called the meal plan before, so in Syracuse, parents were asking for gift cards for their students. Basically a way to, when we were talking as parents, a way to say, here's some money for food, basically don't spend it on booze. And so that was around the holidays last year, so then we launched this thing called the meal plan. And parents would buy all this money, basically just a gift card to us. And then they asked, okay, instead of that, this was 2 semesters ago, instead of that, now can we actually only give you the money? Can you give my son or daughter the money at the beginning of each week as opposed to the beginning of the semester? Because what ended up happening was they gave this gift card and they spent like all the money in their first month. So now we were like, okay, fine, we'll do that. So we gave them monthly allotments and then went down to weekly allotments. And then at that point, students then started requesting that we're open late. So now we're open like super late. We used to be open for lunch. Now we're not open for lunch. It's really just like a dinner time to late night kind of thing, like your 4th meal, I guess. So that actually worked well in Syracuse. It didn't work well in Maryland because there's so many restaurants around. And then Colgate, the university was upset with us because we just had I don't know if you saw our trucks. The truck. It looks like a wash truck. It's one truck. It just sort of 3 amigos drives around a lot. But it said like something on a meal plan. And you know, universities have contracts with the food service providers. Not a big deal, but you know, we're not built to be like a meal plan. We're just trying to figure out who we are right now. So we shut that down. Actually, Colgate shut us down like a week or 2 ago. Yeah, not the biggest setback, but we're live now. Hopefully, it ends up working out. But so another mistake would have been. Labeling something that is threatening to the community. You know, Colgate was the way we got our name Good Uncle is that we try to build good into everything that we do. So when I started Good Uncle, I'm not, like I said, I'm not passionate about food. I'm passionate about my summer camps, the nonprofits. So I gave the majority of my equity to our summer camps. So if we sell, then the largest shareholder is my founder, my co-founder. The second largest shareholder is our nonprofit. The way we expanded markets is, and some of you might have been there or not, I don't know, but we went to all these fraternities and sororities and said, give me 10 minutes to talk about Good Uncle, and we'll write a $500 check or a $1,000 check to your nonprofit of choice. We did that in Maryland, and it like blew up. It was awesome. I spent one day in Maryland, launched the whole market, and went viral. It was fantastic. So we did the same thing here. But then I guess 2 of the checks got to like a department of purchasing here in Colgate, and they were unhappy with that because they were confused, like why is Good Uncle, this company, like writing checks to nonprofits, and just became the story. So I think, when we enter Maryland is one model, we enter Syracuse is another model, we enter like a micro market like Colgate is a different one. So I think with any business, you have different types of markets you're going into and problems you're trying to solve, and the same strategy does not work. So it's another lesson that we've learned on our way. And let's see here. Happy to talk about, happy to talk about whatever you want, whether it's fundraising, whether it's about food, it's robots, other mistakes we've made. I'd like to say that the first time when I started a single platform, I quote unquote knew I was right, and I ultimately was wrong about a lot of things. I think now with Good Uncle, it's like, how can I, as quickly as possible, prove or disprove whatever my biggest hypotheses are? So instead of me feeling like, oh my gosh, we were wrong about how you enter a market, it's like, okay, I learned, okay, let's do that better next time. So it's not the end of the world now, so now it's just about how can we learn as fast as we possibly can. I know there's going to be more on that. So anyways, sort of open it up because I've been talking really fast and you got a taste of my ADD now, unfortunately. But any questions you have? Yep.
Yes, so my name is Amani Ballard. I'm from today and I'm developing an app. And I'm really interested in, like, you talked about, am I not loud enough?
No.
Okay, you talked about product market fit and how, like, you had a lot of setbacks in that. So, like, what is your process now with taking risks?
Taking what?
Risk. Like, taking risks, and despite what the market might say, and you saying, like, as the owner of the company, like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, so I said, it's hard to so one of the things I've learned was, if you just go out and try to prove something and you get some results back and you have to decide whether those are good results or bad results, that can be really difficult because you're like, you oftentimes don't end up, if you end up over here, like, oh my God, things are amazing, that's easy. You end up over here, oh my God, nobody wants it, that's relatively easy. You end up in this like gray area, then it's difficult. So one of the things we try to do is we say, okay, we're going to test this hypothesis and we want X result. So in the case of like a Colgate, it's like our investors are like, why are you going to Colgate? And so we said, well, here's this market, and if we could also open this kind of market, and it just expands the number of places we could go to. So success for us would be, could we like reach break even within the first like couple of months? And if we can't, then we'll shut it down. And if we can, then great. Then we have a story of, there's another 500 Colgates out there, and that's what that market could be. So I think setting a goal of where you want to be is really helpful. And then getting honest feedback is really important. So oftentimes what founders will do is they'll go out and they'll get feedback like, hey, what do you think of my idea? And you'll be meeting with someone and they'll say, oh, that's a really good idea. And you're great, because I've been watching 6 months. And the reality is they just didn't want to tell you that they think your idea is pretty shitty, right? And because it's an awkward conversation to have with your friends or with anyone, right? And so there's this thing called the penny gap, actually getting someone to like take out their checkbook and pay for something. Would you actually pay for this service is very different than like, what do you think of this and would you use it? Because then you start to fall into that trap of like what we did at Seamless. So I think I have a very different risk tolerance than most people because of the situations that I've been in my life. You lose your dad, you lose electricity, you can like eat, like peanut butter, something on a wood floor, like all that stuff is like really challenging shit. This is just like, what's the rest for me? So I don't feel like I'm under that much pressure. So I really enjoy it. For some people, they really enjoy it. So for some people, it's really scary to not know where they're going to be in like 3 years from now. So I say pick your goals, find out a way to get honest feedback from people who they actually pay for something, and make sure you feel comfortable with the risk that you're taking. Dropping out of college at 19 was not a risk for me. Leaving your job when you have a number of kids and you have a mortgage, that's risky stuff. So I don't really feel like I'm playing a risky game. I know my odds are terrible. Like I was saying with Carolyn earlier today, my fiance was like, so what percent chance do you think this is going to work out? I said about 8%. I said 8%? She's like, you have to be more optimistic. I'm like, that's fucking amazing. If you could play the lottery and you had 8% chance of winning, I buy that ticket every freaking day. And so for me, I'm like, this is amazing. I think 8% is incredible. I started off, it's like 0.1% of companies sell for like 100 million more. So I feel like I'm extremely, extremely lucky. My team is amazing. So I don't know. So I feel like this is like a game for me. I have a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it's not a game for the other people on our team. We have jobs and stuff. So we close down the market, we lose jobs. But it's like, I really enjoy it. And people have to understand. I used to try to convince people to leave their jobs and join us and sell them on this aspirational thing, which I still do. But then beforehand, I'll say, but just to let you know, this is not going to work out. So just like, don't plan on this working out. I hope it works out. Obviously, I believe in it. What questions are there?
Hi, my name is Matthew, and I'm just interested in if you could explain a little bit about your experience scaling your companies, like once you were a little bit more certain about what exactly the business was and maybe had product market fit, your experience scaling from there.
Yes, I'd say there's like 3 different phases of business. There's the family phase, you're like 1 to say 15 people, and everyone's doing everything. You're in a small room, probably shared working space or working out of your home, and it's a very intimate environment. Everyone's really passionate about it, and you're trying to find your magic. Like, so you're a restaurant, you're like trying to figure out, we're gonna open up a sandwich shop. You're start making all these sandwiches and just working your way through. Like, oh my God, everyone loves this one meatball sandwich. So you found your magic, and everyone's really excited. And then you become a tribe, and that's when you start to create like a different department for sales or for this, and everyone's still passionate about the idea. Not as passionate, but you're bringing in sort of like specialized players, not someone who's like someone who's done accounting before instead of someone who's never taken a business class before. You don't want me running your books, right? But running your books when you're a real startup with a family is not as big of a deal. So that's when you're like tuning your model. You're like, okay, so you opened up 1 sandwich shop, now let's open up 3 more, and show that it wasn't just like luck. And then there's the scaling organizational phase, and that's when you become like organization, and not everyone knows your name, and you bring in like not just specialists, but seasoned specialists that have done this. Our chef now, who's this amazing chef, he was brought in this last round of funding, not at the very beginning. We used a line chef from one of the delivery restaurants that I knew, who was awesome, still with us, but wasn't going to end up being our chief culinary talent. So that 3rd phase is a really, really exciting phase. It's also the phase that as soon as it starts to get there, I start to like lose interest. Put it, a quarter in, make $1 kind of thing. It doesn't excite me. For some people it does, and that's awesome. So I was there through the scaling of Seamless. So when you're hiring people who hire people who hire people, and I felt far from the product. Like I'd rather like get my hands dirty. More like be in the kitchen kind of thing. So I've experienced scaling companies. It's just not something that I actually enjoy doing. Because the part of that passionate part is like lost. And I think with someone who's so EDD like myself, I need to be super passionate about something, otherwise I lose interest. And I'm involved in a lot of different businesses right now, the vertical farming business, and I'm starting a stroller company with my sister for special needs daughter, like starting a suspenders company. I started a lot of companies. I think we're hopefully going to get to the point where we start to scale it up over the next year or so. But it takes a lot of people with a lot of experience. And these tech companies that have scaled, they bring in Sheryl Sandberg, who's freaking amazing, right? So it's usually not the CEO that stays and keeps their responsibility throughout, unless they're like super genius like Zuckerberg and anything. So we're both college.
Hi, my name is Kevin Porter. So for me, I'm sort of into this whole TIA and startup, and I'm really interested in it. But I think one of the main things for me is just wondering, like, how do you find a team in general to help you out? Like, where do you find these people? So, what was your process in finding?
So I'd say the number 1 tool that you can have as a founder, and just in general, like if you want to, I don't know, move mountains, you want to achieve anything great, you need to learn how to tell a good story. And because a good story will, two things. One, tell a good story to communicate to people that have different styles of communicating. Telling a good story if you're a founder, the story that you want to tell is, here's this big market, like a big problem. Here's this unique insight that I have. Here's this the progress that I made, or if you don't have any progress, that's fine. And here's why I'm the person to do it. The first two are the most important, because like the first round, we backed a ton of people that were in college, had no working experience. So what you're going to want to say, if you don't have a lot of work experience in building companies, which most people do not, is you want to show that you. My old boss, the first round, said people don't just become extraordinary. They've been doing extraordinary things like their whole lives. They've been doing exceptional things their whole lives. So when people ask you to tell you like your story, go back and tell like these. I sold hundreds of snakes as a business in high school to whatever. That was my business. That's not my business. That was my friend's business. But like they want to see that you had spikes and you're super passionate and that you've always been really unique. So hopefully that is the case. So be able to tell your own story to start, and be able to tell a story of why this is going to be something big. Because if you can't, you're never going to be able to acquire a town. You're never going to be able to keep the town because you're not going to be able to fundraise. And then even if you do get some town, you do fundraise, you're not going to be able to keep the town when things don't go right, which 90% of the time they don't go right. So now you're not going to be able to raise more money and keep the town right. There's nothing sexy about a single platform. We're distributing menu content. Again, not my pitch to people that I was trying to hire at the time, but figuring out what that story is and being able to describe how big that problem is your number one job as a leader, as a CEO. Some person said one day, if you want to sail the sea, don't gather a bunch of men and tell them to build you a boat. Teach them to sail the sea, and they will build you that boat. So your job as CEO is not to actually build the things. Initially, you want to get your hands involved, but really it's to acquire the team to do that. And in order to do that, you need to be able to set a vision, an exciting vision. So I think that opening, elevator pitch is really important. And the second thing is just learning how to communicate with people with different styles. So there's like the controller who wants answers really quickly. There's an analyzer who likes data. There's a persuader who likes adjectives and just gets really excited and wants to stand in front of a group of people. And then there's a stabilizer who cares about people's feelings. In general, you have a dominant one and a secondary one. And one of the valuable lessons I learned in my mid-20s when I started managing a ton of people very poorly at the time was that I was talking to everyone like they wanted to be talked to. It's tough to do it in a group like this. I'm just going to talk in one way. But when you're meeting one-on-one with someone, identifying them as one of those types. So say you're like an analyzer, you're taking notes. I can't take notes, so I would remember them. But like you look really detail-oriented. So if I were to meet with you, I wouldn't use adjectives. I wouldn't try to be all grandiose. I would go in a very logical order of here's the problem, here's this, step by step, and using like data statistics to be able to sell you. Whereas if you were to sell to me, you're like, we're going to change the world, and we're going to do the most exciting things. I'm like, that sounds great. I don't need it, I'll just do it. So I think learning how to communicate with people in different styles, and as a result of that, you're able to recruit engineers, and I can barely turn my phone on. Everyone makes fun of me because I don't know technology very well at all, but I can recruit people. So I think learning how to tell a story and learning how to communicate with people in different styles is two things that you can do just in general, like your career, but especially starting a company. Any questions? Awesome. Mary, anything else?
Yeah, I was going to say, can you walk through maybe like your daily routines or anything that you do that's almost habitual that kind of either keeps your motor running or helps you manage your time better or stress or et cetera?
Yeah. I wake up, I don't know what city I'm in. I was in New York City this morning. I'll be in Syracuse tonight. I'll be in New York tomorrow. I'm in Lehigh. Anyways, my mind is all over the place. I have a Trello. I use Trello to organize everything. And in Trello, I have logged, because of my ADD, I log everything from brush teeth to like walk the dog. Something I do every single morning, and I still, if you look at my task list, I have a task for today, I have a task for this week, list for this week. So I type it into Trello, and I can drag it across any one of my lists. So the first thing I do when I wake up, and I wake up really early, so I don't sleep that much, is I go into this week's tasks that were created on Monday, and I'll say, okay, look at my calendar, put my meetings in, and say, okay, what are my top priorities now? and I look at this week's tasks that were made on Monday, and I drag them over. And I've learned to not drag a ton of things over because I hate ending the day with like, I'm an achiever, so I like to check things off my list. I hate ending the day with a lot of things there, so I drag a smaller number of the most critical things that can move the dial. And then if I get through it all, then I'll go to one of the things at the top of the list. So I get up, I crack my back, so I can't run anymore. I keep places where it's for some reason I box, so I box like 5 days a week. So I work out, take my dog for a walk, after I create my list, and then yeah, usually I'm in, I don't know, 5 to 7 meetings a day. I have 3 different email addresses. I used to have 3 full-time people managing those email addresses because I get so much inbound. I had like 27,000 unread text messages like a couple weeks ago, and I just can't make my way through it, so I just marked it all red. But I'd say like the thing that's worked for me being super ADD is creating that weekly task list, the week, next week, weekend, and then drag it over on a daily basis. Yep.
What would you say are the biggest challenges or more easier aspects of food delivery on a smaller, more isolated campus like Colgate's?
Let's see, what are the biggest challenges on a smaller campus? One would be that you don't, like Syracuse is perfect because it has these huge dorms. Like, I don't know what, there's some dorms right here, right? They're mostly freshman dorms. Like, they're relatively, they'll be the smallest dorms in Syracuse. So, in Syracuse, you have massive dorms, and so it makes it easier to do less drops. So you'll see our truck, and you'll see our truck, and the only time it'll stop is if there's an order, but that's where you'll just see it driving, and then it'll stop, off campus, return the food, and then come back. But when these 3-4 dorms make up one dorm, it's just although it's dense, it's still not as high. So one is just the lack of population, the lack of density, and even the apartment buildings down there, you're still relatively spread out. It's an apartment complex, so you have, for a small campus, you're actually pretty spread out. So that's been a challenge, because if you really look at our business, it's more of a logistics business than anything. And then I'd say just the other challenges that we had when we entered here and just didn't know any better. Other than that, yeah, we're never going to do more than 1 truck here, so it's better than like Syracuse, where we have a lot of trucks, and it's like managing more labor and just super labor intensive. Yeah, that's about it. Any other questions? Awesome. Mary?
That's it.
Good.
Nobody has any questions.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.